What's going on, everybody? And welcome back to another edition of Generational Sports. It's nice to see everybody here. As usual, listen, we already had the comments roll in before we even went live. Let's go. Best show of the week. Well, we greatly appreciate that. I am ready for the latest updates and reactions. That is what we're here for. Todd wants to know who's going to win the Super Bowl. 20 minutes. We got Chris in here, of course, one of our co-founders. We are here for the latest and greatest content. Excited to hear Connie and Josh's reaction. Well, we appreciate all of you being in the comments section. And listen, we love interacting with everybody. That's the whole point of this show. It's not just for me and Josh to go back and forth, but it's to, get to know the people out there and have some fun conversations with everybody about sports. Listen, a little bit about life, pop culture. As me and Josh always say, it's our show. We can do what we want. But I can't even do a show. I can't even perform my duties as a host or talk about anything until I find out how Josh is doing on this Monday, January 23rd.
I'm doing pretty good. Thunder are playing great, and the Vegas is still yet to really respect us on spreads and money lines. So I've just been taking advantage of it.
Okay.
8-3 since the new year, and I have bet on every game. So I'm 8-3 betting on the Thunder. So it's doing pretty good. And we had a big win against Denver. They didn't have Jokic, but they're still a very good team without him.
Win's a win.
Shea had a nice game winner. Dorcher Chamber on Jamal Murray on the last possession, and it's going really good. The Thunder are playing good. I'm happy.
Exactly. Listen, NFL for a lot of people's teams, it's over. Unless you're a team in the Final Four, your season is long gone by now. At least 2 weeks. Wow, can't believe this NFL season's already over. It feels like we wait all year every year to get to the NFL season, and it's over before we can even think about it. Obviously, with the playoffs in full swing, we are going to get to that. But we had a nice UFC card this weekend, huh? What were we at, Josh?
283.
283. That's what I thought it was. I certainly wasn't stalling, so you could say it. UFC 283 had 2 title fights on it, some other fights on there that were pretty exciting. Josh, how much did you get to watch it? Because I sat down, watched a little bit of the prelims in between commercial breaks of the NFL games, and then 10 o'clock, set the laptop up, got a nice, beautiful, paid UFC $80 pay-per-view, and watched it in full.
Yeah, I only caught the main card because I was locked in on the NFL games. Had a couple pick'ems on Underdog. You can use code Gen Z over there and double.
Yeah, listen, Josh, we're very excited. We're very excited over here at Generation Sports because Underdog Fantasy is back. You see it scrolling at the bottom of your screen right there if you're watching us now on the YouTube, if you're hearing this later on the podcast maybe. But you go over to Underdog Fantasy, just go on the App Store. It's a wonderful, easy thing. Underdog Fantasy. And then when you sign up, you use code Gen Z. That is G as in Gavin, E as in enough, N as in Nicholas, and then Z as in zebra. Gen Z, no spaces, and you can double your first deposit up to $100. You can help us out, and you can have some fun over there on Underdog Fantasy. You can, the higher or lowers is always fun. With the pick'ems, you can do rivals. I had a rival this weekend. I did the Robbie Gold versus Brett Maher, fewer extra points missed. So I did not win the overall, but I did get that one right because Maher did miss one. But we're very excited. Underdog Fantasy is back as the official sponsor of Generational Sports. Use our code Gen Z, and like I said, you'll double your first deposit up to $200. You can win some money out there, huh?
Oh yeah, they also have way too early NFL drafts already. Way too early MLB drafts too.
Ooh, I might have to do a nice little MLB best ball. I haven't done a best ball yet, but hey, or you can you can do the drafts as well over there on Underdog. So make sure you check. Listen, just check everything out. All right.
But the UFC fights, I only caught the main card because I was locked in on the NFL games. But some very good quick fights, kind of, in terms of who you knew was going to win before the title fights. I mean, Jessica Andrade just had a heck of a fight.
That fight should have been stopped 7 times, 10 times over.
Yeah.
I cannot believe that fight never got stopped. I mean, I guess she never got dropped, but Andrade was just putting it on her and just hammering away. I mean, listen, who was it? She fought Murphy, right?
Yeah, Lauren
Murphy, tough as nails. But as the commentators were saying, you don't really want to be in a fight and everybody's talking about how tough you are, because that usually means you're getting your ass beat.
Yeah, unless they're talking about both fighters, like a Gaethje Chandler fight, where like, oh, they're both
exactly.
Just that's the only time it's warranted, and you want that. But the Gilbert Burns fight, also very good win for him too. First round finish, that was
nice
huge.
Little submission.
Mm-hmm.
First submission in a long time, right?
Yeah, long time. I think. I can't wait to see who he gets next. I hope it's Colby.
Well, everybody wants the Colby Hamzat, but what's going on with Colby? He's in a lawsuit.
I don't know. I didn't hear about that, but he's always got stuff going on.
I heard there was something about a lawsuit that Colby Covington was involved in. I don't know. Maybe I'll try and look it up real quick as you keep going on with everything. But
yeah, Gilbert Burns, huge win for him. I mean, his last 2 fights, you look at him before this fight, obviously had the title fight against Usman. The way Kamaru Usman was fighting at the time, no one was beating him. So you can't really fault him for losing that. And some people kind of think he might have won against Khamzat. That was a close fight. He held his own in there against Khamzat, who just has blown past everyone. So, I mean, Gilbert Burns, he was 4 ranked before this. Neil Magny, I think, was somewhere in the top 15. So it's not like this win is going to catapult him up there, because I think the top right now, obviously Leon Champ, Usman won, and then I think it's Colby and Khamzat up there too. So that top 4, I think they're all interchangeable. I just want to see Gilbert get another shot at it. I think he just keeps getting better and better every fight.
Yeah, there was. I don't know if it's true. Everything on the internet, can either be a joke or it can be true. Did you see the thing that Burns' wife was like, "I don't want this to be a dragged out fight. I want it to end early," or something like that?
Yeah, I like to believe that though.
I would love to believe that. I really do hope that's true.
That'd be great.
But then we had the 2 title fights. With
Assassin baby.
Yeah, the Assassin baby, Brandon Moreno, defeated Davidson Figueiredo. It was the 4th fight in the installment. I'm still saying that Brandon won 3 of them.
Yeah.
That loss in the last fight, the 3rd fight, I'm sorry. I still think that he won that one. I didn't see the first fight, so I can't tell you. The 2nd, 3rd, and 4th I did see. But
one with an eye poke, Davison would say.
Yeah, what? That's not an eye poke. Listen, does it suck that looping punch hit him right there with the knuckle of the thumb right in the eye, and I mean, it closed up real fast.
Oh yeah.
His eye was absolute. I mean, you couldn't see nothing out of it. You knew it was over too when the doctor went over to him and he put the hand up and he's trying. How many fingers am I holding up over here? And he's kind of looking. I was like, oh no. And you hate to see fights ended like that, but maybe you don't hate it as much because it's not illegal. You know what I mean? Like if that was an illegal eye poke and the fight ended that way and it's a no contest, or they give the win to whoever because it's an eye whatever. Like that would suck. That would really suck, especially because the 4th fight, which has never happened before in the history of the UFC, obviously. But listen, I think he was dominating that fight anyway. Yeah, I saw your tweet that after the fight, the judges had scored it 2-1 so far throughout the fight. I have no idea how it was a 2-1. It should have been a 2-0 on its way to a 3. Actually, no, it should have been a 3-0, I should say, because it was in between the 3rd and 4th round. Should have absolutely been a 3-0 fight. I don't know what round they gave Figgy, but he did not deserve whatever round they gave him. And I think Moreno was going to win the fight anyway. Just, you hate to see it stopped in between rounds. At least, you like the ground and pound or the clean knockout or the finality of of something happening, like a submission. But, in between rounds, Doctor obviously has to stop it, but good for him. And, Figgy's moving up to what is it? He's moving up to
I have no clue about weight classes.
I can't. Yeah, I can never remember what weight classes is above or it's not. It can't be welter, is it?
Maybe
I feel like that sounds right.
I think it's Volkanovski's weight class. I think that's the one he's moving up to. Which I mean, that one is the title's kind of the title. Actually, the next pay-per-view, that title is up for grabs.
So what? That was the featherweight.
I think so.
No, they were flyweight.
Flyweight.
So he's moving up to featherweight.
Okay.
So he's moving up to featherweight.
Like you said, at least it wasn't super illegal. It wasn't like, when Sean O'Malley finger poked Pedro Munoz. Yeah. It's just like, oh, really? That's how it ends. This was a clean shot. It was just so clean that Davis is like, he can't do that. Like, that's got to be illegal. It was just such a clean shot. But, yeah, he was getting dominated that fight. Did scare me a little bit when he took off the gloves during his interview. I was like,
yeah, me too. Me too.
Like, what? And then he's like, I'm moving up. I'm like, you can't take off the gloves and then announce that. It's kind of scary there. But it's going to be interesting to see who fights next. I mean, Kai Kara France, the last time he fought was against Brandon Moreno, and he was winning the fight before that liver kick that just shut him down. Yeah. So he might get another shot at it. But there are a couple guys in that division that'll definitely keep rising. It's kind of sad to see the end of this, 4-fight thing. It was very fun watching him. I know you said you didn't see the first fight, but it was just kind of out of nowhere because Figgy was dominating everyone for like 4 straight title defenses, and no one in the division could really go up against him. And then Moreno comes in and almost wins it. It was a draw, and then Moreno wins the title. And I do agree. I think Moreno won it the third fight too. So Moreno just got the best of him in the majority of these fights. So it'll be interesting to see what happens next in that division.
Yeah, sometimes people just have your number. I mean, we're going to get into it in the NFL version later with, these championship games coming up. But sometimes people, just have your number, matchups. Or what is it? What do they always say? Styles make fights. And, well, looks like Moreno's been doing pretty well in that department. We move over to the light heavyweight championship fight as well. This is another one. This was almost to the level of Andrade and Murphy. I mean, Jamal Hill came out there. Glover was trying to take him down, and even in the commentary, you thought like, okay, the first 2 rounds, this is kind of what we think, and then as Jamal Hill wears down, Glover's going to be able to take him down and get it to the ground, whatever. That's the way he's going to try and win this fight, but he could just never get him to the ground. And when he did get him to the ground, it was, beautiful wrestling by Jamal Hill. He could get back to his feet. There were even times where he got Glover's back. I mean, it was a very dominating fight. Obviously, the cut above the eye was just disgusting. The commentary booth kept talking about how they were getting blood splatter all over their papers and their suits. And, you see the video clip of when Jamal gets the water poured on his head and all the blood drips down from his hair. It's just,
I thought that was Gatorade at first. I had to rewatch it and see what he was pouring.
I watch this stuff because I thoroughly enjoy it. I still just simply cannot believe anybody decides to wake up and do this. It just boggles my mind. Every time I see one of those big gashes or I see somebody get knocked out, I'm like, you people are just a different type of person. Yeah. Because obviously could never be me. But anyway, listen, back to the important thing. Jamal wins light heavyweight championship. Glover obviously retires. A wonderful career. He's been around forever. Obviously got the elusive title before he did retire in that previous fight where he tapped out. Who did he tap out?
Jan Blachowicz.
And then he was doing good against Yuri before Yuri got him. Obviously they were supposed to rematch. Yuri gets hurt. Yuri posted a video too that he's coming for Jamal Hill, which I need to pause on. Especially the way he said it, but but yeah, a solid fight overall. Just domination though out of Jamal Hill.
Yeah, it was a great fight for him. I mean, just his last 3 fights too, coming up to this. Johnny Walker, who was also on the main card of this one, who had a nice finish against Paul Craig. The way he knocked him out, just stiff as a board. You can tell he has that elite power. And he showed it in this fight. He was very confident out there. I mean, he was even the shots that weren't landing like perfectly, they were hurting Glover. Like that's how powerful his punches are. And now he's the champ, and we'll have to see. I mean, Yuri obviously has a title shot next time he comes back. Johnny Walker, if he keeps winning, he might get another shot at Jamal Hill, which I would not mind seeing because Johnny Walker is a great fighter too. But yeah, props to Jamal Hill.
Who do you think wins? Obviously we're probably a ways away. Somebody posted a video on Twitter, and you can never go based on those things. And to be honest, I've only seen Yuri fight the one time it was against that last fight with Glover. How he doesn't have great defense, and obviously Jamal Hill has some power in those hands. Early reaction, I mean, Jamal got to be the favorite.
I think he's the champ. Yuri's coming off an injury. I think there's questions with that too. So I think he'd have to be the favorite, with just the path he's been on. I don't think it'd be a heavy favorite, probably like a minus 172, something like that, where it's not huge or something crazy like that. But even if that fight, when it does happen, if Jamal's still the champ, I'd lean Yuri. Yuri's just, he doesn't have defense, but yeah, Yuri doesn't have great defense, but that's because his striking is insane. He has a spinning back fist knockout that's just one of the nastiest things you'll ever see. I think it was the fight before his title fight. And then even hanging in there with Glover, who that was one of the best striking performances Glover has ever put on, was against Yuri, and he was able to stay in there. Obviously, Jamal, younger and more powerful than Glover was. But I think I'd have to lean Yuri if the training camp goes well and he has no problems with that shoulder. I mean, I think it'll be a close fight, but I think it's going to be a 1 to 2 round of fight. I think they're both going to go in there and want to showcase the power they both have.
Hey, I'm looking forward to all these fights being made anyway. I mean, I didn't even know that Leon and Usman too it was next month.
I thought it was March.
Or no, March. In March. You're right.
March,
right.
We got 2 insane insane cards.
Yeah. I didn't even know that was close.
Yeah, Usman was probably like blowing up Dana's phone, like, hey, get me back in there. I'm not going out like that.
Man, Usman really had that fight won too.
I mean, that's two champs we've had lately. Izzy also had the fight won against Ferreira, and got TKO'd.
Man, UFC is a dangerous sport.
Yeah,
talk about
to say
fight until the bell rings. Certainly doing that. But all right, let's move on, and we'll go over to the NFL side of things, which is the big story these days, obviously with the playoffs in full effect. And I guess we'll just kind of go in chronological order here, and we'll start off with the Chiefs and the Jaguars. Chiefs pull out a victory here. A little backdoor cover for the Jags that I'm sure probably upset many, many people in the betting world. But the big thing out of this game, obviously, is how Patrick Mahomes is going to respond to that ankle injury. They got the 27-20 win, but obviously the bigger story, like I said, is Patrick Mahomes, and he got rolled up on, confirmed today by Andy Reid that is a high ankle sprain to his right ankle. It looks like there was a moment where it looked like he wasn't going to come back in. He throws the coat down when he's going into the locker room before halftime to get the ankle looked at, but he gets it looked at. He comes back out. He's on the sideline, still in the full pads, and has his helmet. So you knew he was going to come back and play eventually. But they stuck with Chad Henne, and he had a wonderful drive, 98 yards. They ended up scoring a touchdown. Travis Kelce was absolutely uncoverable. And Josh, I say this as somebody who, listen, I didn't even play high school football, but I watch a lot of football. I think I know what I'm talking about, and it's something that I just never understand. And maybe because I'm a Patriot fan too, that Bill always likes to take away, your best weapon and make you, play left-handed or whatever the wording is. How do you let Travis Kelce of all people beat you? I can, as a defensive coordinator, I'm telling you, I can lay my head down at night peacefully, snoring and drooling away if McCole Hardman or Juju or Isaiah Pacheco or Jerick McKinnon just have a crazy game. If Juju had 27 catches for 420 yards and a touchdown, I'd still sleep peacefully at night because I made somebody else beat me. But Travis Kelce is by far, not even close, the best player on that team, obviously besides Patrick Mahomes. I'm not going to state the obvious here. But 14 catches 98 yards, 2 touchdowns. I mean, I think that's the third most catches in an NFL playoff game of all time. It's the most for a tight end. Listen, the yardage obviously isn't anything crazy. I mean, you think 14 catches, you probably think he has over, well over 100 yards or something like that. So only 98. But like I said, also 2 touchdowns. I just don't understand how he's not doubled on every single play. And then, even when Mahomes got hurt, I thought that they would bring a lot more pressure. They did end up getting the ball out pretty quick, but it just wasn't enough for the Jags. There's going to be a big improvement with them, obviously. You already saw it this year. They ended up winning the division, although the Titans, were obviously a lot worse than we thought that they were going to be. But listen, the Jag had to take advantage of that. And in years past, you obviously know that they wouldn't have, especially with the way they've played recently. And, you can even just look back last year. They obviously wouldn't have taken advantage of this. They had a number 1 pick for a reason. But you saw Trevor Lawrence take a big step forward. This team is going to get Calvin Ridley on the offensive side next year to pair with Christian Kirk and to pair with Zay Jones. And ETN looks good. And you're going to have another year of development for Walker and, some of these other guys, Josh Allen. So, and of course, they'll add in the draft and, maybe make some free agent moves. But they had a chance in this game, especially after Mahomes got hurt. You could tell that he wasn't the same quarterback. He's limping to even hand the ball off when he came back out, especially the plays immediately after he got hurt. But a good game overall. But I think if you're a Jags fan, you're happy with your season in the long run. Right now it probably still hurts, but you're probably going to look at this game in a couple months and be like, damn, I can't believe we didn't take advantage of that. But in the same breath, be like, I can't believe we were even there playing.
Yeah, I mean, after going back-to-back years with a number 1 overall pick, worst record in the league, to only lose by 7 in the divisional round to the Chiefs, I think in the offseason they're going to be pretty happy with how the season went. And I do think they're going to have a good offseason too. I mean, not only do players like to go and play for teams in Florida because they like the sunshine and all that, but Doug Peterson's a good coach, and the culture they've built there too is something I think players are going to want to play for. And, Khan has been known to give out the bag to players who may or may not have earned it yet. So it makes a lot of players want to go there. So they got a bright future. To your point on Kelsey, he was actually on Pat's show today.
Oh, I saw it.
Yeah, he was talking about it. And I mean, he kind of put it the simplest way possible. He's like, when you have a coach like Andy Reid and the schemes they have and all the dangerous guys they have, I mean, they just draw it up perfectly. He finds the windows. When you've been together as long as him and Mahomes have, it's even like, okay, we're going to shadow him with a safety right here, and he's going to be matched up against whoever he's matched up against. And then Mahomes breaks the pocket for half a second. Kelsey moves 2 feet or just stays where he's at, and other players move. They just have that connection where they find each other in the smallest windows too. So it's, I don't know. I agree, though. It's insane that you're not just putting all your focus on stopping him. Like, hey, force them to do stuff they're not normally doing, which is throw it to everyone else but Kelsey. But, teams still have yet to figure it out. And with Mahomes, I was very shocked that they let him back in after seeing how well Henne was doing. Like, okay, we can probably still win this game with Chad Henne. He had a really nice drive. Our defense is playing really solid against Jacksonville. And we don't want you to not be able to play in the AFC Championship game or the Super Bowl. Like, it was a pretty bad injury. You can't even reach back to do stretch plays because your ankle is that messed up. Yeah. Like, obviously he wants to play. He's a gamer, but, you need him for the rest of the playoffs. And, even though it didn't look like he, hurt it too much more by playing, still being on it and running on it.
Oh, yeah.
Make it worse. So I was kind of shocked that obviously he was telling the coaches, like, no, I'm good. Put me in. But if I'm Andy Reid, I'm kind of like, hey, I don't care. Like, we need you next week. Like,
it's funny you say that because watching the game, my dad has kind of said the same thing. With you almost wonder if you let Henne play, and then if you got in trouble, you're like, okay, listen, Pat, kind of need you back in the game. I wanted to let you sit the full thing, recover, and we'll do whatever. But, we're down 3 here. There's, 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter. I'd much rather have half of you than Chad Henne.
Yeah, but to start him straight out the second half after how well the Chiefs did on that drive I was shocked to see him right out of the half. But, I mean, They're saying it's just a high ankle sprain, which, I mean, just a high ankle sprain is still a problem when you have Trey Hendrickson running around at you in the AFC Championship game. And he's not going to be able to do the Mahomes magic. It's not going to be as bad, but he's still not going to be able to move as much as he normally does, which is going to be a big problem.
You know, you mentioned Mahomes magic. Can I put the hater pants on for 1 second? Is it possible for Chris Collinsworth to want to get in Mahomes' pants more than he already tried to?
The greatest incompletion of all.
He literally threw an incomplete. What a throw by Mahomes. He knew that was going to happen if he let that ball go. And I don't even think I'm really hating though, because even the little the jump pass for the touchdown, he was this far off the ground, maybe a centimeter off the ground, and what a jump pass from Patrick Mahomes! I'm like, oh my god!
Or when he just barely ran past the line of scrimmage and just fell forward, he's like, what a play for this guy to get the first down! Like they weren't gonna hit him.
It was just, I'm watching the game and I'm like, this is just unbelievable.
It was it's so funny watching Chris Collinsworth call games.
And not even that. Don't get me wrong, it's Collinsworth, but it is everybody too. I'm watching the game last week when Brady moved out of the pocket and flipped it. I immediately turned. I was watching with my dad again. I immediately turned. I said, I guarantee they say something about Mahomes. Next thing that I said, a very Mahomes-esque play there by Brady. I was like, oh my God. I'm like, people can't do anything.
No. I mean, it's definitely getting to a point where you don't appreciate the plays as much anymore because every play that's impressive, they're like, you only see Patrick Mahomes do that. Like it's just getting to a point where it's like, all right, we know.
Like that, and then the overthrow to from Trevor Lawrence where he hits Marvin, where he hits I keep wanting to call him Marvin Jones. I don't know why. Where he hits Christian Kirk right in the hands, which would have been a beautiful pass. Probably could have been a touchdown. He keeps
60 yards on a rope like that. He didn't overthrow.
Hit him right in the hip. And he goes, you know, you just don't expect to overthrow a guy 60 yards away. Well, it's because he didn't, Chris.
When it hits your hands, it's not exactly
the thing too. Like I like Chris Collinsworth normally. Like I'm not one of normally I'm not one of the people that's like, oh, like, you know, there's a lot of, you know, announcer hate out there. You know, Joe Buck, nobody likes him.
I love Greg Olsen. Love that.
Everybody loves Greg Olsen.
Love that.
Everybody does love Greg. That's my dad's favorite commentator.
He's nice in the booth.
No, he has been very good. And it really does suck that Brady's going to take it away.
I hate Tom Brady, dude. That's so stupid.
Listen,
get him on a different.
I'm the biggest Brady guy there is. But how do I even know? You don't even know if Brady's going to be good commentating.
He's going to be so nonchalant and just say nothing. And you know the guy doing it with him is just going to be drooling over the fact that Tom Brady's with them, and it's just going to be kissing his butt.
Oh yeah, you could already tell it's going to be. You know, Tom, you've seen everything. So what do you think the quarterback is looking at right now with this coverage? And Tom, well, you know, he's going to take.
They're going to try to make him do what Romo does. Like they're going to want Tom to talk like
Romo's the tables have turned on Romo.
So very quickly too. Very quickly.
Because you know, listen. At first, it was nice.
People loved the play predictions. They loved it.
But now, well, first of all, it was just I don't even know if Mahomes is going to play next week. Really? Really? You don't think Mahomes is going to play next week? Like, let's be real here, brother.
Yeah.
But, hey, listen.
He said, hey, backup offensive linemen are still offensive linemen. That's what he said. Like,
brilliant.
Thank you, Tony. I was wondering who these guys were. I just didn't know.
I thought they were tight ends, just playing offensive line.
The jersey numbers threw me off.
Thought they switched jerseys with a couple D linemen and just said, "Hey, go out there." Yeah, listen, it's you know what? I think that not Moose Moose, not like the other one that like Gus Johnson, the one that gets all excited all the time. Everybody loves Gus. But Moose Johnson, you know, the other guy that did
with who?
He did the Eagle game.
Okay, yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Those two guys are good too. I think that they're pretty good. Burkhart and Olsen are good. I like Iron Eagle over there on CBS.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, there's some people out there that gotta. Even Mark Schlereth is pretty good. He transitioned
Let
up.
Brady take Romo's spot. Let him do that.
Well, he signed to Fox. Can't do that.
I don't care about the networks. They all do games. Who cares?
Hey, just in a few, just think in a couple of years too, because obviously Fox has the Super Bowl this year, but in a few years, can you imagine the love fest it's going to be when Fox gets the Super Bowl again and Brady's doing the Super Bowl coverage? You've been here 10 times.
Oh my God!
7 wins in the Super Bowl. What has
They're
to
gonna do
happen?
so many promos with him when that happens. Like,
don't get me wrong, Brady's my guy, so I'll eat up every minute of it. The fact that I'm going to get to hear him broadcast, and they'll try and pick his brain for the next hopeful at least 10 years, because that's how long the contract is. He's going to make like $31 million a season broadcasting.
Yeah, that's crazy. Crazy
For somebody who's never done it. Listen, I've never done it either, Fox. CBS, ESPN, and even Amazon Prime. Listen, I think Apple's going to try and buy some things. Hey, I'm available.
What if he's Jason Witten?
No.
What if that happens? What if Tom is just terrible in the booth?
I'll be terribly disappointed, because that's my guy. See, you know what I would kind of want to know, though? And I don't want him to be terrible because, like I said, that's my guy. You signed him for 10 years.
Yeah.
10 years. It's not like even with Drew Brees, they gave him like a 1-year contract. They put him in the booth a couple times. They were like, God, you are terrible. We're never bringing you back, and Drew Brees isn't back anymore. Tony or Jason Witten, awful. Booger was terrible in the booth. He's not bad at the pre-show. But I really do wonder what if Brady's just up there. He's like, yeah, it was a nice route by the receiver, Kevin.
I think people, though, even if he's just the worst and barely talks, every time he says something, they'll be like, God, Tom is just the best, isn't he?
See, you're going to have two sides of the coin, though. You're going to have that, which might be me, because my guy. And then you're going to have other people who just hate Brady, where he could be like breaking things down like John Madden. They'd be like, well, Tom Brady, he's just terrible at this. I can't even, I watch the games on mute now. So you're never going to make everybody happy. But hey, you know what? That's not our problem to deal with, Fox. If you need everybody, though, I'm graduated. I can send in an application. I'll do a test. I have several podcasts to pick from that you can listen to me on. I'm available. I can give you the number. I'll give you my number whenever you want.
If you get the job, you got to let me get on the sidelines. That's what
I'll see what I can do.
After a couple of years, obviously, foot in the door.
Yeah, I gotta at least get the pinky toe in.
Yeah.
So I'll see what I can do. But yeah, Chiefs are moving on. Home AFC Championship game. Obviously, it was going to be neutral site if the Bills won, but they didn't. We'll get to that game, don't worry, because next we're going to go to the Eagles and the Giants. Like I said, we're going to go in a little chronological order here. And honestly, I don't even think there's too much to this game. Jalen Hurts just makes – listen, Nick Sirianni after the game kind of said, I don't want to compare him, but I'm going to compare him. It's kind of like having Michael Jordan in the locker room. And I get where he's coming from. He's obviously not saying he's Michael Jordan, but it's that calming force. It's that, this is our leader. We can follow this guy. It's that hoorah BS of, I'll have that guy's back anywhere. But listen, you can tell that the team is different with Jalen Hurts out there and when he's healthy. Obviously, that Week 18 game against the Giants, the whole team was kind of off. Hurts didn't play his best. The defense was solid, but the whole offense just kind of seemed off. But they obviously bounced back big in this game. I think that week off to probably review tape and get Hurts even healthier than he was in that Week 18 game was obviously very, very big. And, they showed the stats too. I think they averaged something like 60 more rushing yards with Hurts on the field. And that's obviously going to be true when he is a weapon out of the backfield. He didn't even really have to throw the ball much in this game. I mean, just looking at his numbers here, he was 16 of 24, 154 yards, 2 touchdowns. So obviously the 2 touchdowns is nice, but 154 yards, only threw the ball 24 times. That's nothing, crazy, especially in this day and age where everybody's passing all the time. But they ran the ball all over the Giants. The Giants just had absolutely no answer. I mean, Kenneth Gainwell, 12 carries, 112 yards, a touchdown. Miles Sanders, 17 carries, 90 yards. Hurts carried the ball 34 yards, or 9 times for 34 yards. And I think that is the big part, because It was his non-throwing shoulder. So you knew that he was still going to be able to pass pretty well. And like I said, they didn't pass the ball much because they were running it well. But I think it was the first time that Giant fans were probably very worried and Eagles fans were very happy is when Hurts took off and he took the hit from the Giant defender. I don't remember who it was, but he kind of even lowered his shoulder, said, I'm going to take the contact. I don't really care. And that's probably the moment where it was like a very deep exhale for Eagles fans because it was like, okay, our guy is good. Because obviously if Hurts isn't at 100%, your offense isn't going to be at 100%. You can't do everything that you normally want to do in a game. But he takes the contact, he bounces back up. They call design runs for him. That even the QB power that he scored for that touchdown, it was just a nice thing to see because now going into the championship game, you obviously know that he's going to be 100%. So that was obviously good to see. Lane Johnson being there was good, and I mean he's playing with I think something like a torn groin or something of that nature, which is just unbelievable. Offensive linemen are insane people. They're almost like hockey players, honestly, where they get hurt and they'll end up coming back in even though they're missing this piece of their body. But he hasn't given up a sack in I believe 2 years. He's really a big anchor in that line. Obviously, you know about Mailata. Jason Kelsey is a future first ballot Hall of Famer. And then when you can run the ball that well, like I said, you got 112 yards from Gainwell, 90 from Sanders. Hurst gives you 34. Boston Scott gives you 32 and a touchdown as well. So it was just a very easy 38-7 win for them. It was already 28-0 going into halftime. Giants score in the third quarter, but obviously doesn't mean anything. And I honestly, Josh, too, and obviously I want to get your point on this too, and I'll finally shut up. The Giants' first possession, when they go for it on the 4th and 8 from about, I think it was maybe the Eagle 45 or even their own 45, something of that nature, close to the half to the 50-yard line. I didn't understand it, and I really think that was an early turning point. Like it's hard to say that they lost the game because of that, but you're giving a team that marched down the field, scored the ball right back with a short field. They score again, make it 14-0. And from there, it just kind of felt like all the energy was gone from the Giants. It didn't feel like they ever had a chance to get back into it. And obviously they didn't. So, I was very, very confused about that. And then the fact late in the game, when they're down, they didn't go for it. They ended up punting. There were some questionable decisions. This might have been the first game I looked at Brian Dable as like a rookie head coach. Like those were some rookie and weird moves. And, maybe the nerd with the iPad was sitting there talking about, oh, you got to do this because the analytics say it. I don't know the full story, obviously, but I thought that those decisions were kind of weird. But overall, just pure domination. And Jalen Hurts looks to be very, very much back. And those Daniel Jones $40 million a season conversations, $35 million a season, they died real quickly.
Yeah, I mean, on that 4th down, I do believe they crossed midfield, but barely. I think they were on like the 46. And I think that was Dable. I think he just knew, like, when they get across half field against that defense, they have to empty the tank there. Like, you can't, even though the Eagles did march down very easily, nice one-handed catch by Goddard for the touchdown, even though they drove real easily, getting across midfield, you just got to, I think he was like, we have to not waste this opportunity. We can't just punt it back to them because how many times are you going to get across midfield? And we saw not too many times for the Giants where they marching down the field.
No.
So I think that's probably why he went for it. I think Daniel Jones might have had a chance to get it had he not tripped over. I think it was Andrew Thomas's foot was getting pushed back into him, and he tripped over it and wound up taking a sack. But, yeah, it was just a beatdown by the Eagles. I mean, you've said it for a while now that the only way the Eagles are going to lose is by beating themselves. And, I mean, they were firing on all cylinders. Like you said, the numbers don't jump off at you passing-wise, but when they do throw the ball, I mean, how do you go? You talk about guarding Travis Kelce. How do you guard Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, and Dallas Goedert all at once? What is the game plan there? It's going to be very interesting to see because San Francisco, I think, is a team that matches up really well with their size too, with how mobile Fred Warner is. But it's going to be very interesting to see how they do that. But this game I turned it off after it was 21-0 and started watching UFC because I was like, yeah, the Giants are dead. So I didn't watch too much more after that. But on the contract situation, Saquon said he's not looking to reset the market, so that's a good sign that he's not going to be out here like, hey,
not looking to reset the market, but he still wants McCaffrey,
right? But he's not going to be
the one
like
that reset the market.
But there's going to be some leeway for the Giants there. I think is the good thing there. Like you don't have to give him a Zeke bag, and just live with that. So I think that's a good sign for them. We'll see what happens with Daniel Jones. I mean, we talked about it a lot last week. We'll see what he gets and see if he wants to go somewhere else for more. I think he's going to stay there. They're going to continue building what they have, but that game does not help him in contract negotiations.
I mean, I guess it doesn't help them because they lost, but I mean, to be fair, he's obviously not the reason they lost that game either. You can look at other quarterbacks, Dak Prescott, as the reason that they lost as they lost their games. But I mean, I think they're going to end up franchise tagging him and trying to work out a contract with Saquon. I don't think that there's a way that they can franchise Saquon. It's much easier to find running backs than it is to find quarterbacks. And listen, do I think Daniel Jones is all world? Absolutely, unequivocally, no. I mean, he had 15 touchdowns. I think he had, 8 on the ground as well, which is a solid number, but didn't even pass for 4,000 yards, doesn't even have 20 touchdowns through the air. And listen, do they have weapons? Obviously not. Like their number one wide receiver in that game, I think, was Isaiah Hodgins, who nobody even knew, at the beginning of the season. And Giants fans didn't know until they signed him, I think, which was, late in the year, maybe like week 8 or 11, something of that nature. So, I mean, half of these, people on the team weren't supposed to be there. You're obviously supposed to have, Sterling Shepard there, and people thought Tony was going to have a big year, who obviously got traded away to the Chiefs, and some other people they thought were going to contribute. There was the smoke that Odell might go there, but it was just they don't have enough to compete right now. Obviously, they make the playoffs. They beat the Vikings, who I said were a fraud the entire year. As much as I've been pounding the table about the Eagles, I've been pounding the table that the Vikings were a fraud the entire season, so I wasn't surprised by that. So it's not Daniel Jones' fault, obviously, but like you said, it's not going to help him in contract negotiations. Obviously, if they win that game, you can say, hey, listen, can you believe that I just beat the Eagles, the number 1 seed, with this ragtag of Kmart employees that you gave me at wide receiver? But, now they're probably going to look, you didn't get us over the hump. Maybe instead of 40, 32. So I do wonder what he's going to get, because I think they'll try and franchise him. But if they don't and somebody offers him 40, I'd let him right out of the door. I can't pay Daniel Jones $40 million.
What do you do at quarterback then?
Jimmy G.
Yeah, I guess.
I would take Jimmy. I would take Derek Carr. I would. I mean, anybody else?
Teddy will probably be out there.
Teddy will be. I mean, you love Zach Wilson so much. You could try and.
He doesn't belong in New York. Get him out. Get him out of there.
Yeah, he doesn't. You're right. He's terrible. Hey, maybe it's just maybe with Ryan Daboll though. Ryan Daboll got the best of your Daniel Jones career. I mean,
no, Zach Wilson belongs in greener pastures.
What would those pastures be?
I'll get back to you on that. I don't know.
I just didn't know you had anything, that you wanted to throw out there. I didn't know. All right. But we'll go on once again. Now we'll jump into the 49ers. But, before we jump into the 49ers, I guess let's take a little rewind just for, obviously, I would assume sports fans are watching this show, but maybe not everybody knows all about Brock Purdy. So let's get a little bit into Brock Purdy before we get into the game itself. This is an interesting story. He is obviously a very, very interesting story. Kind of came out of nowhere. Mr. Irrelevant in the draft. For the people that don't know, that means he was the literal last pick in the NFL draft. Actually, this previous draft, I believe he went to Iowa State.
Iowa State, yeah.
Yeah, he went to Iowa State. There's even talks that he had a visit with Nick Saban, where Saban was like, your arm strength isn't impressive, your accuracy isn't that good, so kind of shot down, too good or not good enough for Alabama. Obviously uses that as motivation, goes to Iowa State. Funny, the NFC Championship game is going to be a rematch of a game that Hurts and him had in college, but goes to Iowa State, puts together, a solid career there, and ends up getting picked with the last pick in the draft. And I think the best Mr. Irrelevant to date might have been I think it was a kicker. Some kicker got drafted as the last pick in the draft, and he had, a solid career. I can't remember exactly who it was. But he comes in to the 49ers as a third string quarterback. He's running the scout team the entire year, so that means he's facing technically the number one defense in the NFL. With going up against the 49ers, in practices. Then the domino effect kind of starts happening, right? Trey Lance gets hurt, so that means Trey Lance gets hurt in week 2, so Jimmy G comes in. Then I believe it was week 8, I want to say. Maybe
8 or 9.
8 or 9. 8, 9, somewhere around there. Jimmy Garoppolo gets hurt. And that's kind of when the season was supposed to be over, right? Like, oh man, the 49ers can just never catch a break. They were looking good this year, and then Jimmy G's going to go down. Now they have no chance. And out trots Brock Purdy. And all Brock Purdy has done since he's become the starter is win. He has a quarterback rating of 107.3, 67% completion percentage, threw for 1,374 yards, 13 touchdowns, only 4 interceptions in the regular season. So he does not turn the ball over. First playoff game, you're like, okay, eventually this is going to run out, right? Like that rookie luck is going to run out, or, the fairy tale ending of Mr. Irrelevant actually being something is going to run out. Maybe in that first playoff game against the Seahawks. Well, it didn't, because he threw for 332 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks, and had a 131.5 quarterback rating. And then in this game, obviously, it was a little bit more of a struggle because, hey, both defenses are obviously very, very good. So, threw for 214, no touchdowns, no interceptions, but he did everything that he was supposed to do. That is the thing with Brock Purdy. He does what he's supposed to do, but he can still make the plays. I feel like he's still growing, but I also think it's different from a game manager. And we always kind of make that a dirty term when it comes to quarterbacks, like, oh, he's just a game manager. That's all he has to be, and he's done a very good job doing it, but also makes the plays when he's supposed to. Like I said, I think the first time it ever stuck out to me was when they played the Bucs, and he had a defender bearing down on him. He did a little swim move around him and then threw a strike down the sideline. So he can make plays like that, but he can also – methodically gets you down the field and gets you into the right play and everything like that. And I think that's just, the big overall Brock Purdy story, that he's just, doing the things that he's supposed to do. And you saw it in this game, obviously I'll get into the game a little bit now. It was that classic defensive struggle, especially in the beginning. Nobody can really do anything. Even after – I think after the first quarter, it was only 3-0. Going into halftime, I believe it was 9-6. Cowboys actually did score a touchdown, but Brett Maher blocked extra point, so he's still on the struggle bus. Did come back and make a field goal though, so you can't feel too bad for him, I guess, or made a couple field goals, I should say. So you can't feel too bad. But 9-6 at halftime, nothing had been really happening. But the problem with the Cowboys is Dak. Do I want to put it all on Dak? Obviously not. But when you throw 2 interceptions, one of them, I think that he thought, why can't I think of his name now? The wide receiver. Gallup, yes. He probably thought Gallup was gonna come back on the ball much, faster, and he thought it was gonna be a different route. But it gets intercepted. The DB ran the route for Gallup. Literally ran the route for him. And then the second interception, you're down in the red zone. You're at least going to get 3 points. You're obviously going for the touchdown. Not the greatest throw. It gets defended. It bounces up into the air. Fred Warner picks it off. You get no points out of that one. And all game, Dak just looked very uncomfortable. And I don't even think he was sacked that much.
Dak?
Yeah.
He wasn't getting too much pressure on him.
Well, it wasn't obviously not too much pressure on him, but the throws just continued to seem very off. They were, low or high or behind, it seemed a lot. And he just did not have a very good game. I think all the momentum was just gone with them once Tony Pollard got hurt, though. Once Tony Pollard got hurt, which it just kills him. It absolutely killed him. Zeke is obviously not the same running back that he was when they gave him that contract. I'm sure if they could go back in time, they would obviously not do it. And, that's also a very big cautionary tale of giving second contracts to running backs. So I'm sure the Giants are going to look at Saquon and say, you see what the Cowboys did? We're not trying to do that. But anyway, the Cowboys just didn't really have a chance after that. And then even the play at the end of the game, it was Indianapolis Colts-esque. All those
years.
Much
worse.
Much worse? Worse than the Patriot play.
What Patriot? Oh, you're talking the lateral?
Oh, yeah.
No, I mean, that's devastating. Just by design and execution, I think this is worse than the Colts. Because the Colts wasn't supposed to happen. Like, they weren't supposed to snap it.
They were never supposed to snap it.
This play, they purposely put Zeke at center and shotgun. And then I think I kind of get what they were trying to do. I think it was supposed to be like, I think he was supposed to hit Turpin. I don't think he was supposed to hit him that late.
No.
I think it was supposed to be a shorter route.
Yup.
I think it then goes back to Dak. And then I think T.Y. comes around on a sweep. And then you have 3 offensive linemen and a couple skill guys on the right side. And you're hoping the defenders have been chasing during all that. That's the closest thing I could think of.
The thing that I think it was supposed to be a Turpin, but like you said, much sooner. I think he was supposed to immediately pitch it back to whoever behind the offensive lineman.
That was T.Y. on the left side.
All right, then I think he was supposed to immediately pitch it back to T.Y., and then from there it was just hot potato. I think, T.Y. gets as far down as because I think the whole main thing was they wanted as many skill position players on the field as possible,
right,
which is why you have Zeke at center, which, by the way, is so funny that he just got absolutely pancaked the minute he snaps the ball.
That's a holding call, too. If they would have scored there should have been a flag on that. Zeke pulled him down with him. That should have been a hold.
But, yeah, I think the whole point was like, okay, immediately get it to him, pitch it back, and then everybody just start running around and hope that we can pull off a Miami Miracle type of situation.
I think my thoughts kind of on the game, Dak, I know that Gallup interception people are trying to say was miscommunication. I think it was just a terrible read. I think it was a terrible decision. You can even see Gallup's hand kind of go up like, what the crap, like when the pick is happening. It was just a terrible throw. The other pick, I mean, Fred Warner is just a dog sometimes. Like sometimes you can't escape that, man. But, I mean, Trent Williams did his job against Micah Parsons, too. I said last week, like, you don't often watch a pass rusher versus a tackle. Like, keep an eye on it. But this game was won, and Trent Williams won almost every time they were matched up.
I don't even think Parsons didn't have a sack. I think he had 4 tackles in the game.
It was even so bad that they were lining him up at middle linebacker a couple times to try to get him different angles and get away from Trent Williams. But he definitely won that battle. With Purdy, I like how you said, like, there's game managers and then there's game managers who can also make a play when they need to. Like Jimmy Garoppolo is a good game manager, but he doesn't make the plays when he needs to.
He's not making an off-scheduled, out of the pocket,
We saw it in the Super Bowl. He can't do those game-saving type of plays. Brock Purdy has done that a little bit throughout his stint he's had here. He's been able.
Brock has some gunslinger in him.
Yeah, he's definitely.
Like there's throws that I see him make that I'm like, that like scare me. I'm like
that. What was it like? It was like 3rd and 12 when they were in field goal range, and Kyle Shanahan let him rip it to Brandon Ayuk on like a curl route at the sticks. Like you got to trust your guy to say like, hey, we know you might not make this play. Let's just run it, get a better field goal range. Instead, he's like, no, we can get this first down at school.
I mean, don't get me wrong, too. Brock did get lucky. I mean, Trayvon Diggs literally dropped an interception.
But that was tipped, too. That was tipped, too, at the
True, but I mean, still, dropped an interception.
Yeah, he definitely got lucky there. But it was just a back, like you said, defensive battle game. Brett Maher kind of kept them in it, actually, because it was, 9 to 6
at halftime.
9 to 14, I believe. And then something made it 12-14 or something like that.
Well, I'll tell you the scoring. So 3 in the first quarter for San Francisco. Then it was 6-6. So that was 9-6 at half. Eagles. The Cowboys came back, kicked a field goal, so that made it 9-9. Then I think They scored the San Francisco kicked a field goal.
12-9.
And then
because there was a situation where
no, and then they scored the touchdown.
Yeah, the McCaffrey run.
And
so
then
19-12 or something.
And then the Cowboys got the field goal made at 9-12 or 19-12.
I mean, Dalton Schultz is a lot to blame here too.
Oh my God.
A lot to blame here. First of all, to not make sure your momentum's going forward so the clock stops on the first one, and then to just be so worried about getting out of bounds you don't get your feet down. Like, that's why we saw one of the worst plays of all time. Because Dalton Schultz screwed him over a couple times. It was tough to see there. They were doing the right things. I mean, that out of bounds to Schultz when he didn't stop the clock, if he does get out of bounds with forward motion there, there's still I think 20, 21 seconds left on the clock. And instead they have to spike it with 13. And then he doesn't get his feet down, and it's 5 seconds left on an incompletion.
And they could have at least tried a Hail Mary instead of, hot potato.
Yeah, you could have had a shot at least a Hail Mary or something like that. But, yeah, just kind of all messed up there. I agree, too, that Tony Pollard injury, you can tell they don't trust Zeke in a lot of situations anymore. Tony Pollard going down kind of screwed them over big time. But it was a bad showing by Dak, too, though. He just did not make the plays that they trust him to make and pay him to make. He made some bad decisions there in this game.
Let me ask you the all-important question that I think every single Cowboy fan wants to know. You think that they win a Super Bowl?
With Dak?
How about I'll give you the next 5 years?
With okay. And this is assuming Dak is still...
Yeah, how about... All right, fine. Let's just say with Dak.
No shot with Dak, I don't think.
No shot.
I mean, I don't know. It's tough to say. Because, we'll have to see if they pay Tony Pollard this offseason. I assume they will. Because you're going to go full season with Zeke when you barely want to give him the ball.
That's tough, season? Though. How much are you going to pay 2 running backs?
I mean, you got to give Dak whatever he needs now. I mean, the decisions, this game was bad for him. He didn't play good at all. And also, I really started disliking Dak. I used to defend him when you would talk crap about him. But when Brett Maher was missing the kicks, he's like, go for Evan too. Like, bro, are you kidding me? You've been asked for so long. Like, who are you yelling at?
Bro, that's the thing with the Cowboys, right? That's the thing with the Cowboys. They have that great game against the Bucs, and then they nosedive. And I'm sure if they played next week, they would have had a great game.
Yeah,
but there just is no next week.
Their Super Bowl window was very tough with the trajectory of the Eagles, the way the 49ers are. I mean, the defense is going to be there because they got their guys locked up there, kind of. I mean, they got a very solid defense. I just don't know how much they can really add to that offense. Who wants to play there?
You know what I found so funny, too, though? That after the game, you hear on some networks and some people, they got to get Dak another weapon. You realize you traded Amari Cooper, right?
Yeah, had another weapon.
You had another weapon. You had Amari and CD. And you were like, CD is just going to take over, do whatever. And yeah, did CD have a great year? Absolutely. What team is great that only has one weapon?
Not too many. Not too many teams.
Can you name Josh, think of the teams we have remaining. It's the Eagles. Jalen Hurts is a weapon, not only because he's a good quarterback, but on the ground. You have A.J. Brown and Smith, both over 1,000 yards receivers, okay? Let's go over to the 49ers. Kittle, CMC, Ayuk, Debo. Okay, so by my count, I'm no math major here. That's more than one weapon. Let's go to the Chiefs. You have Mahomes, who's probably the best quarterback in the league and maybe the greatest tight end of all time. So
Pacheco's a dog. Pacheco, too. I think Pacheco's a weapon.
I think Pacheco's a weapon, yes. But even if you want to – all right, fine. Even if you want to give the Chiefs, they also have maybe the greatest offensive mind in Andy Reid. So you have Mahomes, who might be the best quarterback, Travis Kelce, who's by far the best tight end, and then the best offensive mind. So, yeah, they have one weapon, but you have 3 of the best at their position. Okay, fine. And then you go to the Bengals. It's Mixon, Burrow, Chase.
They got so many weapons, they might not be able to keep them all.
Hayden Hurst has turned into a weapon.
Mm-hmm. Tyler Boyd's always reliable too. I mean, you're right. It's
Like
not
you
very
can't have
often.
one person anymore.
No,
This is the NBA. It's
yeah.
the NBA where like you can't have one great player on your team anymore. You need at least a top 5, and then like so a couple like even with the Bucks, it was like okay, well Giannis is clearly the best player, but yeah, you also had Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday who were both probably top 30.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, I agree. I think it's, for the Super Bowl window, we'll have to see if Dallas throws their hat in the D Hop sweepstakes. I think whoever gets him is going to be a contender, not because of him, but I think contenders are the teams that are going after D Hop because of how good he is already, and the contract is huge. So it's Super Bowl wise, no. I think with just the talent level across the NFC right now, I just can't see a Super Bowl in 5 years, 10 years, maybe you might get there. Who knows?
Listen, let me look into this camera right now. Right now. I don't think the Cowboys in the next 10 years, I'll give them 10 years, will win a Super Bowl. And let me tell you why. First of all, you're going to have Dak because I don't think that Jerry Jones or that coaching staff will ever get rid of him. So even when his contract is up, I think they'll give him a new one. I don't think you can win with Dak, first of all. Second of all, Mike McCarthy is safe in all this. I don't think he's a Super Bowl winning head coach. Now, did he win a Super Bowl, you're going to say? Well, yes, he did. Also had Aaron Rodgers at the peak of his powers with a pretty good backer team.
With weapons, yeah, with weapons.
Okay, exactly. With a pretty good team. And, if you watched the Cowboys Hard Knocks, not the biggest rah-rah guy in the room. His speeches made you go to sleep. Then you're still trying to build a team kind of around the running back situation, which is why, you're going to have to pay Tony Pollard so much money while you're already paying Zeke money. You need another weapon. And when they did have another weapon, they traded the other one away. What's built them for so long? The offensive line. Guess what? You already got Frederick gone because the reasons he had to retire. Next up is going to be Tyron Smith because he's already been going through a lot of injuries recently. So how much longer does he have? Then you have Zach Martin, who's another year older. So not only are you going to have to get weapons around Dak, now you're going to have to rebuild the offensive line again. Then by the time you do that, because obviously that takes a little bit of time, how old is Micah? How long is the window for Diggs to be this lockdown great corner? Leighton Vander Esch seems to miss time every single season.
DeMarcus Lawrence going to be tired of losing the playoffs.
I think their best year to win a Super Bowl was this year. And I know the Eagles and the 49ers are obviously very, very good. So you're like, how could this be their best year? That they were in the top 3 teams in the NFC probably. The teams remaining got to think were the Eagles, 49ers, Cowboys, and Giants.
Yeah.
They were easily better than the Giants. And if they had already beaten the Eagles once now, granted, it was with Gardner Minshew and not Jalen Hurts, I understand.
They almost lost that game too.
Exactly. I think the Cowboys Super Bowl window was opened for I think their best chance were their first few years of Dak and Zeke. And I would have said it was even extended to this season because of how poor the NFC was. I don't give them a shot. What's giving you the confidence as a Cowboy fan or as a fan of football for you to say that they would win a Super Bowl? Dak doesn't show up, and when he does, it's in the second half of a game they're already losing, probably because he's played poorly in the first half.
Yeah, I don't think they got it.
I think it's over. I
agree.
So, okay, Did I miss anything?
We talked the game. We talked the game.
Did we talk Bills Bengals?
No, we haven't.
That's what I thought. Okay. I meant to go in chronological order, but then we got into the 49er, Cowboy game. So let's go to the Bills and the Bengals then, obviously. And in this one, listen, the Bills take an L in the divisional round. They were favorites going into the game. You had the whole DeMar Hamlin situation, which, by the way, Josh, did you know that DeMar Hamlin's a clone now?
I hate that shit, bro. That's so stupid.
Why haven't we seen his face yet? He's not even a real. Twitter needs help. Like last night, my Twitter and TikTok were filled with people like, he's throwing up the Illuminati in 6'6".
That's just so stupid. Like, just watch a video of his teammates talking about him and interacting with them. Like,
oh well, Josh, you're a sheep because like they can obviously be fake.
They're believing whatever I see out there.
There's literally a video of him in the locker room, isn't there?
And I think so. And even when Von Miller, he's always on the McAfee show. He was on there and he was like, we had to sneak him in the locker room. He's a superstar out here. Everybody wants to see him. It's so stupid. I hate that.
I just had to throw that out there that people are absolutely insane these days. But anyway, listen, this was pure domination by the Bengals. And I mean, I guess we kind of should have seen this coming because obviously
against Buffalo.
Well, listen, Josh, in that first game that obviously got stopped because of everything that happened, you remember that first drive? Bengals went down and scored like it was absolutely nothing. And that's all they did in this game too. I mean, listen, we keep trying to do, well, I mean, not we, maybe I, or then again, I think a lot of people, we do the whole, Josh Allen and Mahomes are the best, right? Right. It might just be time for, say, Mahomes and Burrow. Burrow's a dog. Listen, can he do the things that Josh Allen and Mahomes do? Probably not.
Apparently, did you see that warm-up throw? Jesus, he's the greatest player I've ever seen in my entire life.
Mahomes-esque, honestly.
Really, I mean.
If he pulls that out in the game, you're gonna have to clean off the mics.
Yeah.
But what was I gonna say? That's what it was. Now, can he run around like Josh Allen and run people over and have that absolute cannon of an arm like him and Mahomes do? Probably not. Does he make the no look and sidearm and jump passes that Patrick Mahomes makes? No, not really. You know who else didn't? And I'm not comparing them. Tom Brady. How many times did people, well, Aaron Rodgers can do this, and this player is great, and this player is great. Tom Brady's the one with 7 Super Bowls considered to go. The man is a statue in the pocket. He can't run. I think I can outrun him, and I'm fat. And unathletic.
I'm like 5'6" or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, so sometimes all those intangible, all those like extra things are really cool and fun to watch. And Mahomes is great, best quarterback in the league. But Burrow's making a case that, listen, he's beat Mahomes 3 times in a row. Yeah. Right now, Josh, big game to win your life. Let's take the old people out. No Rodgers, no Brady, all that. Give me a top 3 that you would take to play quarterback for you.
Like right now?
Right now.
Yeah, I'm going Mahomes 1.
Okay.
Game of my life. Probably Burrow and then Lamar. I think I'd put 3.
I would go Mahomes, Burrow, Allen. I mean, he's we'll look at all the weapons he has. Okay. Did we
doing his rookie year too before that injury? He was dogging his rookie year.
And 3 offensive linemen were out in this game. Did you realize that?
And the O-line actually played really well.
Gosh. The O-line for the Bengals played better than the O-line for the Bills.
Yeah.
The Bills' offensive line looked like garbage.
Yeah,
Allen was under pressure the entire game, didn't have time to get things downfield. First of all, snow and football mixes together so well. God, it's so fun to watch.
Love it.
Which is why, if the Bills won, having that game in Atlanta made no sense to me because it's an indoor stadium and the Chiefs and Bills are outside teams. Why would you put the game inside? But anyway, I mean, it was just pure domination from the Bengals. I mean, they did basically anything they wanted. It seemed like everybody had 10 yards of separation. Every time Mixon touched the ball, it felt like they were gaining 5 yards a clip. Josh Allen couldn't really do anything. They can't run the ball. We all know that. And then you hear the reports of how Diggs was out of the locker room immediately after the game. So he's obviously, a little bit annoyed. I don't think that's anything to really look at. Your emotions are high after a game. You were the favorite the entire season to win the Super Bowl, and obviously you don't. So emotions are going to be pretty high. It's a disappointing end for the 3rd season in a row. But, I mean, the Bengals are on to something, let me tell you. And they're about to back up the Brinks truck to Joe Burrow because You want to talk about changing the fate of a franchise? I mean, before this, their greatest accomplishment was making the playoffs with Andy Dalton and then losing in the first round all the time. Now it's like, oh, that's why I love the answer. Joe, how long do you think the Super Bowl window is here? My entire career. That's what he said, my entire career. And you're goddamn right.
What else are you going to say? No, I really hope Joe Burrow, because they can't pay all those guys. I mean, I know the salary cap doesn't really exist. It's fake. But T. Higgins got to get paid. Jamar's got to get paid. And Joe Burrow might become one of the probably the highest paid quarterback of all time, especially if they win this Super Bowl. If they
you think he gives them a little discount to try and keep his guys?
That's what I was going to say. I hope he does, because of how much he just loves. And he's going to make billions off the field.
Exactly.
Like all the nicknames he has and all that. He's going to be okay money-wise the rest of his life. I really hope he does take hey, I want T. Higgins and Jamar here. And if we draft another one, I want to pay him too. I hope he does take that type of pay cutter to where you can always talk about the contract. If you need some more money somewhere else, you can restructure it. I think he will do something like that. I don't think he's gonna, hold out so he gets the bag he wants.
No, he doesn't seem like that type of player.
No, he's a gamer. He just wants to win, and he's very confident out there. I mean, this game was just very, very, like you said, it was complete domination by the Bengals. They got whatever they wanted. Joe Mixon looked like just the best running back on the planet. He was running through everyone.
I mean, and they were carrying people too.
Yeah.
I mean the Bills looked like they would have somebody tackled, and then 6 yards later, you're like, how was they still standing?
Eli Apple played a hell of a game too. He played, as much as people clown him and don't like him, he played a hell of a game there. He did not fall for a single double move the whole game. He was playing really well. And that offensive line, like I said earlier, with the injuries, and usually that's the biggest problem we've always said about the Bengals. They played amazing this game. Ed Oliver wasn't getting anywhere close to Joe Burrow.
Everything changed with Von Miller.
Yeah.
I mean, they were one of the best pressure teams in the NFL, and just based off stats. And then Von Miller got hurt, and they dropped to the middle of the pack. So obviously, a lot of things changed with him because he's a handful, and it gets other people available, to get pressure on the ball. But I mean, that was they played. That might have been the best Bengals team I've seen. That was better. I think that was almost better than the team that beat the Chiefs in the championship game last year. I think that was better. That might have been the best Bengal game I've seen with Joe Burrow as a quarterback. I mean, they not even just the offense, because that's the thing too. We don't ever give credit to their defense because it's not like, oh, they don't have, Aaron Donald or they don't have, Jalen Ramsey or a Sauce Gardner type of person over there. But what they do have is a big collection of people who are very good at what they do.
Mm-hmm. If all the guys know their job and do it as well as they do, the whole defense in itself is a star. It's not an individual guy has to take over, and they do have individual guys, luckily, on the team too that do make big plays all the time. Sam Hubbard, got them to here basically. So it's a collective effort, definitely defensively, and that offense is just too tough to handle for the Bills. I mean, hey, I agree. I'm not looking too much into that Diggs thing. He's a very emotional player out there. He expects to win all these games, and he didn't have a good game. Josh Allen and him just couldn't find each other out there. So it was. You can understand the frustration and not wanting to, just wanting to get out of there. You can understand that from an athlete standpoint. When you're passionate about something and it doesn't go your way, you're not going to exactly respond professionally all the time. But people buried Cam for it too. You lose a big game like that, you don't always react well. Not everybody takes it with a grain of salt. But yeah, I think the Bills, they'll be all right. I think they will. We'll see. Von Miller, they gave him a bag, right? It was 3 years.
He said on Pat a couple of weeks ago that he was going to retire at the end of the year, but then he got hurt, so he's going to come back.
Yeah, so they'll get him back. People are definitely going to want to play in Buffalo still. It's still a very amazing team, and they got a lot of stuff going well for them. So this game was just the Bengals. When the Bengals turn it on, when the playoffs come, when the lights shine the brightest.
And to be fair, we talk about the injuries to the O-line. The Bills had injuries too. Micah Hyde didn't play the entire season. Yeah. Poyer got hurt in that game. White got hurt in that game.
Yeah, that was nasty.
I hate excuses too, but Josh Allen said that he's been nursing the injury to his arm ever since it happened. And if you look at Deepak our resident doctor posted something about it. I think his QBR like pre-injury was something like 75 and it dropped down to like 62 after the injury. So maybe that was bothering him the entire season. Like you just don't want to come out and say it during the year, obviously. And I also, like I said, I also do hate that because it's like, oh, well, it's like when somebody has a bad game and then all of a sudden after the game, it's like, well, yeah, because I've turned my ankle or something. But I mean, when you are a quarterback and your job is to throw the ball and your elbow got messed up, I mean, I guess I can't really sit there and be like, oh, I don't believe you because who am I? But, listen, we're going to have some help. We're going to have some great games. Do I want Bills and Chiefs? Yeah, because I just like to be right about Josh Allen and him being good. But I think I validated that anyway because he's obviously.
What's really annoying me, though, is the Cam Newton, Josh Allen stuff going on online a little bit.
Oh, I haven't seen it.
It's just because people were saying, well, I've said it, like Josh Allen is a more accurate Cam Newton. Like that's how big he is athletic wise and his arm power. He's just more accurate. And people, mainly Panthers fans, that's why I'm saying I saw it a lot. We're like, don't ever compare the two. I'm like, all right, guys. Like by the end of Josh Allen's career, his records and accolades are gonna be beyond Cam. So we don't have to do this. We cannot talk about Cam. It's really okay. You don't have to bring him up every time.
It's the best thing that happens to your franchise. Well. You got to protect him like fine wine.
I mean, every time a quarterback doesn't play well, they're like, they said it was better than Cam. Like, no, they didn't. You made that up. Nobody said that.
You said that.
Yeah, it's so annoying. I hate it. But I think the injury obviously might have affected him a little bit, but he didn't. He hasn't played well the past couple of weeks. I mean, he hasn't looked like Josh Allen that we saw towards the end of last year, even the end of the last game last year and most of this season. He just hasn't really looked like that. Could be the injury. That's what it most likely is, but, they got to get that figured out.
Yeah, they absolutely do. All right, so those were the recaps of the games, the recaps of the UFC, and we'll not end the show, but we got to make our predictions for this week. Obviously, 49ers and the Eagles. Then we have the Chiefs and the Bengals. Starting off on the NFC side of things, I've said it all year, so I'm going to stick with it. I think the Eagles are the team that can beat the Eagles. I don't think that it's because the Brock Purdy thing is just all of a sudden going to end and the 49ers are going to play bad. I think Jalen Hurts is just going to make one more play than Brock Purdy does. Maybe it's a scramble to end the game. Maybe it's a big pass to A.J. Brown because, listen, for all the things that are great with the 49ers, their cornerbacks aren't the best ever. But I can't wait to see this matchup. The 49ers, an unbelievable offensive line versus the Eagles, who had the third most sacks in NFL history in a season. It's good on good everywhere.
I know this is a little off topic, but it's been annoying me ever. Can you believe we had Hassan Reddick and Stephon Gilmore? We chose to pay Dante Jackson. Can you believe that, bro?
It's a bold strategy, some would say. It's bold. Because now you're going to have Hassan Reddick on Kittle and you're going to have, what's his name? Lane Johnson and Nick Bosa and Kelsey against their big D linemen. This is going to be a great game.
It's a big man's dream. It's a big man's dream to watch.
Listen, I'm going to go with the Eagles. I'm going to go with the Eagles in a very close game. I think this screams 2017 type to me. And I think the Eagles come out on top.
I think the 49ers are really going to struggle here. I think they're going to have a very bad game. I don't want to say Purdy's going to show who he is. I just think this is going to be the most adversity, the biggest stage. And obviously he's played really well. Win or lose this game, play terrible this game, he's still going to have a shot at starting next year because of how well he's been playing. But I think he's going to have his first really bad game, unfortunately. I hope I'm wrong, but I think this defense is just too good. Nothing really works against them, hasn't all year really. So I'm going to go with the Eagles too. I think it's going to be a blowout, though. I'm going to go 31-10.
Wow, really?
I do. I know this is the game we've all been waiting for, but just watching San Francisco just against Dallas, and Dallas's defense is very good too, but Philly's secondary is better, and their pass rushers are just as well as Dallas is. So I think it's going to be much tougher out there for Brock Purdy than it was even against Dallas, where they struggled to put up points in that game too.
Okay, that's big. That's big. Okay, I didn't see that one coming, honestly. Next up, another rematch of earlier this year and of last year's AFC Championship game. Bengals are 3-0 against the Chiefs. I think they're going to move to 4-0. Listen, Chiefs' offense is great, but with all that being said, the Bengals always find a way to play them very, very tough with the way they line up on defense. I don't know what their defensive coordinator does, but he always seems to give them a problem. And the Chiefs obviously are not known for their defense. Now their defense has improved. Karlaftis has played very well. Obviously, you got Chris Jones over there. Frank Clark is still there. But there's just so much firepower on that Bengal team. And if Joe Mixon can run the ball, I mean, halfway the way he did against the Bills, you're going to have some unbelievable play actions. You're going to have, Chase could have a big game. If he doesn't, Higgins could have a big game. I'm going to go with the Bengals again. I think they're back in the Super Bowl for a second year in a row.
Yeah, I agree. I think I would pick the Chiefs if Mahomes did not get injured. Because
I didn't even mention that too. I forgot.
Yeah, it's very tough for me to pick against the Chiefs when Mahomes is out there with Kelsey. So if he was healthy, I would pick them. Even though I do feel like if he's healthy, the Bengals would win, but I would never pick against Mahomes just because this Bengals team is as hot as a team can be right now. Like, they are firing on all cylinders, not missing a beat. They're just playing so well right now. And the Chiefs, the Jags covered, like, it's not like the Jags were really out of that until that, that fumble in the red zone. Like, the Jags were in that for a long time. So I think this offense is going to eat against the Chiefs defense. Chris Jones is going to have to stop Joe Mixon in the backfield every run if they want to have a chance to slow down the run. And I think that offense is going to struggle with the defense that's playing with a lot of confidence right now. So I'm going to go with the Bengals as well.
Well, there it is. That's technically our Super Bowl matchup. Obviously, we will know who is in the Super Bowl for real next week, and we'll discuss everything then. But, hey, I think that's a wonderful point to end the show on. Obviously, we love everybody tuning in. We love everybody listening to the podcast. One more time, make sure you go over to Underdog Fantasy. Use code GENZ. That is GENZ. Sign up for Underdog Fantasy. They will double your first deposit up to $100. Help us out. Use the promo code. Have some fun over there on Underdog. Win yourself some money. Me and Josh have been posting our picks. Have I won yet? No. But
neither.
I felt so confident too in all the ones I've picked. Maybe I gotta stop going for times 20s. Maybe I should just go for a nice times 3.
All I needed yesterday was Debo. I just needed a good game from Debo.
Bro, I thought the Debo one was a lock. 75.5 rushing and receiving. I thought it was a lock.
I took his fantasy points. Like, I didn't want to pick between. I took just his fantasy points. I was like, Debo's got to get there. He's got to be a workhorse. I had McCaffrey touchdown. I had Purdy over rushing yards. I had Kittle fantasy points.
I took Kittle's yards, which was easy.
Yeah.
I needed Pollard and Debo, and then Pollard got hurt, and I was like, okay, well, it's
I had two of them. The other one I had Zeke at over 5.7 fantasy points. And when Pollard got in, it was like, oh, he's going to hit that. Still didn't hit it.
He didn't hit that.
Still did not hit 5.7 fantasy points.
That's unbelievable. Well, listen, maybe you'll have better luck over there on Underdog than we will. I hope everybody checks it out. You can find me, Anthony Conover _ on Twitter, and then you can find my link tree there to figure out everything that I'm doing. And Josh, where can they find you?
Yeah, follow me on Twitter at Jolin _4. Make sure you subscribe to Doubted Views. Like and subscribe over here. And make sure you head over to Generational Sports also. Like and subscribe over there. And tune in Monday, 7 Eastern, for another great show. And use code GENZ.
Yes, sir. We will catch you on the next one. All right, everybody? Until then, y'all have a good one.